Good evening. Oops, sorry, finding my mic. Good evening. We'll call to order the regular open session of school committee meeting in Wakefield on Tuesday, May 26th, 2026. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Let's get everyone to stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the reading of our mission statement. The vision of the Wakefield Public Schools is to graduate students who are confident, lifelong learners, who are respectful and caring members of their community. Our mission is to prepare students for college, career, and community by providing a rich and challenging curriculum, high-quality instruction, and educational experiences that meet their individual needs and interests. Next item on the agenda is public comment. If there's anyone in the public that wants to address us, you may do so now. I think we've got presenters here, so unless any of them want to speak at public comment, do we have anyone on Zoom?
I think everyone's too booked.
Yeah? All right. Seeing no one on Zoom, we will exit public comment. Next item on the agenda is our Student Advisory Council, and I assume we don't have any students to present.
Can we check? Is there any students that are joining us this evening? No. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, and I believe we have a motion.
Move that the school committee approve the minutes of the May 12, 2026 school committee meeting.
Second.
All right, motion has been seconded. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approval? All right, motion passes.
I'm just going to abstain because I wasn't here.
All right. So we go 6-0 with exception. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, budget items. Proceed.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight you have the monthly financial report for the school department from July 1st, 2025 through April 30th, 2026. So this balance of just over $400,000 brings us into the last 2 months of the fiscal year. You'll see there are some negatives in some lines because of additional costs we've incurred for transportation and special education, but we will be offsetting those for the end of the year. The balance is lower than it would have been last year, but we're still in good shape. We still have the offsets from the revolving accounts to do for these expenditures as well. Next, we have the grants. Through April, we just have about $179,000. Primarily, we still have the METCO grant, which still has some balance for transportation, graduation expenses, and things of that nature for METCO. Grants have to be spent by June 30th, so that will be spent for the end of this fiscal year. The last page is the revolving accounts. You can see from this time last year, we're about $1 million less for these accounts than we were last year at this time. We still have some spending to do, and again, we have the offsets for the local budget that total about $300,000 that will be coming from the Doyle preschool account, Wakefield Academy, and some of the building rental account. So these will offset expenses that the local budget has been carrying for these expenses. Does anyone have any questions? Kevin?
Christine, just a couple questions. Is there anything that hasn't been encumbered yet that you're expecting, and what's your prediction for, based on where we are now and what you know is coming, where we may end up in terms of a balance?
So I don't have a balanced number, but we've encumbered all of our non-salary expenditures. We have our salaries encumbered. We still have things that in the salary line, like longevity payments that are coming out for certain groups. For teachers, it's encumbered, but not for the custodial staff and our clerical staff. So we have those things to come up. We have some vacation buybacks to be processed. So there's a lot of end-of-year transactions that have to happen for our personnel services line. So that line will come down. Again, we are still looking at these accounts, but what we're looking to do that we haven't done yet is prepay the out-of-district tuitions for the next for July, August, and September. So that was part of the budget presentation about how that would help next year's budget. So that typically runs anywhere between $400,000 or $500,000. So between that and the offsets of the revolving accounts, the available budget will be considerably decreased from where we are now.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other, excuse me, are there any other questions for Christine? Okay, seeing none.
And we just have 2 payrolls.
Yep. I think there's a motion.
Move the school committee approve payroll warrants number 42 and number 44.
Second.
All right, motion has been seconded. All those in favor? All right, thank you. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is superintendent's remarks.
Thank you very much. I'll start off with comments and updates, and then I'd like to just take my items out of order. I think we should have Anna Morrell and Tom Bankert joining us very quickly for a field trip approval from school committee. So we'll go AD, but just comments and updates. We want to give a shout out to Dylan Scott and Aaron Creasos. Aaron, I didn't know you were going to be here tonight. Surprise. But I want to give you guys a special thanks for taking a little time out of your program last week to recognize Colin and Maddie on their birthdays. I know that it meant a lot. It meant a lot to them, and I think
Lots of 18-year-olds all of a sudden in the building.
yeah. And so, but it's just really thoughtful move for those for the committee members on the committee that may not know. Aaron and Dylan take the lead in the TLC, the Therapeutic Learning Center, here at the high school. They've really done really nice work this year. They've gone above and beyond. They will kind of make visits to homes. They've been out at Elliott. They've advocated for students really thoughtfully, capping it off by just again taking a little time to recognize students who there's no better way than to just take a little time, and ironically, the little time in the day, high school students, have a birthday cake, and and they just jump right in and have all enjoyed themselves quite a bit, but thank you for doing that. Really important. And so, I also want to give a shout out to our history department for a very thoughtful Memorial Day assembly on Friday. The history department really does a nice job with this. Of course, anyone watching, we want to give thanks to all of our veterans and anyone who has provided service. We really appreciate what you've done for us and for our community, so thank you for that. Andy Moody has also done just such a nice job in kind of recognizing and getting the speakers in, and it's just really, really a highlight of our spring. I know we had some school committee members there that joined us as well. The band and choral performances were really great, and there's always the veterans that are there that are kind of honored, always will wait around after just to kind of say, we never thought that students thought this much of us. And I think it really was a nice community event. Also, congratulations to our spring athletes. Everyone is involved in the spring state tournaments, so more to follow on that. This Friday is last day for seniors, and we are a week out to end of year activities. We have senior awards on Tuesday evening at Galvin at 6:30. On Wednesday, we have the Grand March, which will start at 4:30 in the superintendent's lot. Thursday, we have the class gathering at Landrigan, 12 p.m. Friday. We have senior graduation rehearsal, and then the graduates, practice walking. And then Saturday the 6th, graduation is at Landrigan at 10 a.m. this coming Saturday after next, June 6th. So, but it's quite a busy time. And so, but last day for seniors this coming Friday. So that's a big day for us. We're also spending some time getting updates on state budget. We know that the Ways and Means Committee has weighed in, and the committees now are providing additional feedback on the governor's budget, so we're looking forward to how that may shake out. We're also learning quite a bit about kind of the new Educational Choice for Children Act, which is will be put into play next January. So next in January 1, 2027, which is a national tax credit or choice program, which will affect public schools and funding. It's a choice program, and so it is a choice program, and choice programs give students and families opportunity to invest differently in schools and also get a tax credit now for doing it. So there'll be more information forthcoming both on the budget and on that program as well. But that is a quick summary of activity that we've been taking part in since our last school committee meeting. Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. No?
Any questions? No?
Great. I think this evening we welcome Tom Bankert and Anna Morell. Ian, are they standing by? Have they joined us yet?
I'm here.
Hey, we see you. Hi, Tom. Hi, Anna.
Hello.
There you go. That's a better presentation. Perfect. So good evening. And so we welcome Tom and Anna here tonight. They are planning an a cappella field trip for next year. It's the National A Cappella Conference. Do I have that correct, Anna?
Yeah, that's correct.
Great. You want to share a little bit with the committee about that?
Absolutely. So this is actually a trip that we took 4 years ago, March 2023, and it is the National A Cappella Convention in Orlando. It's actually for all of the singers in the program. So Voices of Steel would have a performance there, but every singer who wants to be part of the festival choir can also perform. So it's really open to anybody who's part of the program. And like I said, we took this trip 4 years ago. We do combine it with some days in the parks, so it's some fun and some education. And it is a really, I think, valuable trip for the students. They still talk about it. The kids that are seniors this year went when they were freshmen, and they still talk about it. And they've actually asked me to go back every single year. But it's a kind of an ordeal of a trip. So we have to fly, and it's expensive, and we fundraise, and so it's not an every year kind of thing, but it's like a special once every 4 years, I'm hoping, kind of thing that I'd like to do. Yeah, that's most of the information I have. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions on the committee? Stephen, was that a question?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kevin?
I might have missed it, but what are the dates? What are the travel dates?
Sorry, no.
Some of those kind
We
of
did
details.
not say dates. Yeah. So the dates, it's 5 days total, Wednesday through Sunday. So we would travel hopefully after school. It depends on flights. I'm trying to miss as little school as possible. And so it would be like 2.5 days to 3 days out of school, a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we travel Wednesday, have a park day on Thursday, have a park day on Sunday, and the festival itself would take place on the Friday and the Saturday. So 5 days altogether. Wednesday, March 31st to Sunday, April 4th of next year, 27.
It may be too early on it, but do you have a approximate price? And you mentioned fundraising. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we do. When we do trips in the music department, we do offer some opportunities for fundraising. We have some fundraisers that the Music Boosters do every year, like the leaf breaking fundraiser that we can credit students for their hours of fundraising or for leaf breaking. That goes to their trips. We also have a calendar fundraiser that we've done the last few years, and that goes towards their trip. We've done things like open mic nights. A lot of our performances do charge ticket sales, and that money can go towards trips as well. It is, cost of travel, obviously everyone knows that travel costs have gone up. When we did this in March of 23, we charged the students $10.50 altogether for essentially the same trip. And the Music Boosters did put money up front towards the trip that took money off each student's individual costs. So I haven't gone to the Music Boosters yet to ask them for funding because I wanted to get the school committee approval first, but I'm estimating that it's going to cost students about $2,000 for the full trip, and then with the Music Boosters defraying some of those costs off the top, and then with fundraising opportunities as well. And we always provide financial aid if the student needs it. We're never going to, keep a student from going on a trip as long as they are, doing the work and showing up. So that's kind of how we've dealt with things in the past.
That's great. Thank you. And I assume you're staying in the park?
No, actually we'd stay. So the event itself is it's at the Doubletree Hilton, like near SeaWorld. I think there's another name for it because there's a lot of Doubletree Hiltons in Orlando, but it's near SeaWorld, it's near Universal. So we'd stay, and the festival is all within the same hotel facility. So we'd have to be bused to the parks, but we wouldn't be staying on property of any park.
Great. Thank you very much. Sounds a great experience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions by the committee? Are they going to be performing on each day, or like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
Yeah, so the schedule, so Thursday night there's a concert to attend. So it's a lot of a cappella music. I mean, it's all a cappella music all the time. So a lot of groups coming from all over the country. In the past conventions, I don't know exactly who's going to be like the featured headliners this year, but there's been groups from even out of the country that have come. But a lot of high school groups from all around the country, and then some professional groups as well. So there's a concert Thursday night, and then Friday there's workshops, there's rehearsal time, there's sound checking time. And so Voices of Steel would have a performance in what's called the showcase. So they have several showcases throughout the festival, and they do a 10-minute performance. And then the students who are not in Voices of Steel would rehearse with a clinician. So it's kind of like it's a festival choir where students all come together and learn a few pieces to perform together. And then they would have that concert at the end of the festival on Saturday night.
Okay, thank you.
Tom, am I missing anything?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. No, Anna's done a great job of planning these in the past. I just want to highlight again, in the time that I've been here, we've taken a dozen trips, and we work very hard to make sure that we provide fundraising and opportunities for all students to participate, and we've never turned a student away for financial reasons. So I think that's an important thing to highlight as we put this trip out there. There are definitely some details still to work out, but in keeping with school committee policy, we needed to get it approved by you first before we can take it to the kids and take it to the Music Boosters to start to plan what this will look like as we get the details moving into next year.
Okay, thank you. Stephen?
Maybe Anna, is this just high school students?
Yes, 9 through 12.
Yep, great.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so make a motion to approve the field trip.
Second.
All right.
Do you want me to read one?
What?
Or was that the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, I made the motion.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
I just wrote it all down.
I'm sorry to jump, yeah.
That's okay.
So Pete, you second?
Yes.
All right, any discussion? All right, all those in favor, approval? All right, thank you very much. It's approved.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good luck for organizing. Fundraising.
All right. Thank you.
So next up, thank you, Tom. Next up, we're going to go to Kara and Social Studies and History Curriculum Review.
So we have a group here tonight. I'll let you guys come up and settle in and introduce yourselves so everyone knows exactly who you are when you get up here. And in the meantime, I'll just share. I believe we talked to you about this a couple of times during the year that we were in the process of a history and social studies curriculum review. We've had other curriculum review presentations come before you before. This was the year that we spent with a group of K-12 teachers, led by our curriculum coordinators, Val Drinan and Jason Pavey, and we just did kind of an in-depth review of what is happening in social studies across the curriculum. And we shared with you the slides for tonight, and also there's a full report that goes into greater detail than we'll get into tonight for your review. But with that said, I'll pass it over to the group. We can open up for questions at the end if that works. We'll just go through the slides then. Okay, so we can keep going and not do questions after slides.
All right. Well,
Can you
thank you.
intro first?
Yeah.
Introductions first?
Yeah. Thank you for having us tonight. So first thing we wanted to do was just highlight the whole review team. So we had a mix of K-12 teachers. We made sure every grade level was represented, every school was represented, and then we put it out to the team to see who might join us tonight. And we were lucky that Erin Chrysos and Kyle Virgin from the Dole Bear and the high school were happy to join us. And then, so I'm Valerie Drine, and I'm the K4 Humanities Coordinator.
Hi, I'm Jason Pavey. I'm the 5 through 12 History Coordinator. So, you can go to the next slide. All right, so just talking about our purpose, you know, I think the goal for us being here is to kind of tell everybody, you know, where we were as a department, kind of where we are, and then after the review, hopefully where we're going. So our last review was right around the time DESE released new standards in like 2018. Our main priority was really, we were in scramble mode, just trying to align with the new standards and framework. So basically that meant we had to kind of ensure that our teachers had the proper materials. We had to make sure that our scope and sequence was aligned with what came out in 2018. So we spent a lot of 2019 adjusting, PD, department meetings, PLCs, 2020, COVID, and then I don't know what happened after that. But we did get a lot of work done. You know, looking back, it was kind of like we did get the materials. The teachers were teaching what they were supposed to be doing. It was kind of just getting used to it. We'll go into a little bit more specific about some of the refinements that we made from then until now. But really, like, the point of this review, you know, to kind of boil it down, is that it's really about how we're teaching these standards. Like, we know what should be taught, and, you know, the teachers are aware of what should be taught. It's really how we're teaching it. So the focus was really on the instructional strategies that we're trying to implement consistently, K through 12.
So this was a fun part of the process. It's my first time doing a review process like this. I'm new to the district, and I was excited to jump in. As a part of the curriculum review process, each team has to create their own, like a vision statement for the department. And so we did this after the research component, where we spent like the fall and summer researching the current research on best practices for how to teach and all that stuff of that content area. And then I missed over part, but that's okay, because we're talking. Yeah, keep going. We put together like this vision statement to help guide our decisions through the remainder of the process as we go. We developed 3 versions of the vision statement through brainstorming after doing that research process by our review teams, and then the team voted on a final vision statement that we felt aligned with our priorities. So this was our final vision statement. It's the WPS. History and Social Studies Department empowers students to navigate a changing world by engaging in inquiry-based learning that emphasizes productive struggle, collaborative work, and thoughtful analysis of primary and secondary sources. Though the development of academic language and the examination of multiple perspectives through the development of academic language and the examination of multiple perspectives, students learn to think critically, communicate effectively, and engage in respectful civic discourse. By making meaningful real-world connections between the past and the present, our program promotes informed, civically engaged citizens who are prepared to participate actively and responsibly in a diverse, democratic society, which is a lot to compile between K through 12.
Thanks, Kyle. So I think you've all seen this graphic at this point, or through the other curriculum review processes in other departments. But we really started this back in last spring, May of 25. We pulled the whole department together, all of the social studies teachers, 5 to 12, and then all of the elementary teachers to introduce the curriculum review process, talk about our plan for it, recruit the team, with setting that goal of like, okay, is what we set out to do from the last review, are we meeting that? Are we learning? Are students learning? What do we need to do next? So as Kyle just mentioned in the visioning part, we spent last summer and fall doing some reading and research around best practices and current practices in social studies, which is really actually hard to find specific to social studies. So Jason and I did a lot of digging, and we did find some information that was very social studies specific, but what we are finding, and we'll talk more about this later in the presentation, is like there was a lot around the science of learning and how people learn, and so we did a little bit of that as well, grounding it really in instructional routines and ensuring we're hitting all components of learning. So then, in the fall we developed the vision statement. And then from then until just the last few weeks, we spent time meeting monthly to look at, do we have, the right materials? Is our instruction what we want it to look like? And we did that through a variety of ways, right? So we had curriculum visits this year, so we've been able to visit, social studies classes. The secondary level did humanities visits, right? You did humanities specific visits, and then in elementary we visited all content areas, so we got to see some of that in action in that phase. And then we also looked at literacy data, as that is a big component in the social studies standards, is the literacy standards that overlap there. And then really specifically, we'll talk more about this later, is the elementary materials, because when the last review was done, there was the coordinator model at the elementary did not exist, right? And so the new standards had come and people were doing the best they could, and so we really needed to look at materials from the elementary lens in this review. So that was part of what we did from fall till now, and then where we are now is we're transitioning from making those decisions and making those plans and starting to implement in the fall different things. We'll talk more in detail about that, and then we'll continue to evaluate as we do in all the content areas over that 5-year process.
All right. So the key takeaways from the review, like I said at the beginning, we do feel we're strongly aligned department across K through 12. That's really the work from 2018 to now. Again, going kind of talking about what Val said earlier. It is kind of difficult because there's not a lot of data to kind of help drive the instruction, especially early on. So when it comes to like standards and what should be taught, especially from like a content point of view, that's where it's great because you can have like a lot of healthy debates in PLCs and department, but there is no like, on MCAS, this is what the kids are going to be tested on. Make sure you focus on it. So throughout this process and going even back before that, it was really about prioritizing certain standards over others, kind of more going into more depth over one standard over another. So I feel like we're at a point now where kids are having similar experiences across departments as far as what is being taught. Again, opportunities that we're looking to strengthen, though, is really the how it's being taught, right? One of the articles that we read over the summer and helped kind of guide the creation of our vision statement is reducing the high variance, meaning kids are having like different outcomes or different expectations from class to class, trying to reduce that as much as possible. So it is a common experience, but also allowing teachers the freedom to be themselves and be creative and be original. One of the terms that got brought up in one of the articles was kind of eliminating the educational lottery, the idea that, back when I was in school, it's like if I got this teacher, that was the easy teacher, that was the easy grader, and this teacher was the hard grader, this was difficult. So, kind of continuing to have those conversations about grading, about what's covered, about student expectations, both horizontally, but also vertically. And then, again, just continuing to work on student ownership. That's okay, just really the students doing more of the work. Now you can.
Okay, sorry, Jason.
That's okay.
I did not mean to do that.
We're good.
So I think, Jason talked a lot about the strengths to build on. So in K-12, one of the things that we talked a lot about, I think one of my favorite parts of the reviews is always getting the K-12 teachers together, because I think I listened to the two of you actually at one of the meetings talking about the high variance thing, and it's just really nice to have that opportunity, because you don't get that all the time, to talk elementary and secondary together and where it starts and where it's going. So I think what we've came out feeling were strengths, and having some evidence that were strengths in our programming, was that we are using a lot of evidence-based writing and collaborative instructional practices across the department in K-12, but in K-4 there was some alignment and overlap within the curriculum, so I'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but really the instructional practices in EL and IM and all the different curriculums we're using, there's a strong alignment and overlap in that. And then did you want to?
Yeah, so like part of the process is we looked at the content standards for each grade level, but then we also looked at the practice standards, which are really the skills. And we basically just did a self-audit where not only the people on the curriculum review team, but also we would bring it to PLCs, people who weren't on the team. And we just kind of had honest conversations about how well we thought we were covering each of these standards. And that's kind of goes into more detail in the report. But 5 through 12, again, strong alignment, but also we think our teachers do a really, really strong job in source analysis. Our kids are reading and writing a lot across grade levels when it comes to, that's really what a lot of our common assessments are, DBQs, even smaller, like smaller documents and things like that, where they're going through all those different practice standards.
I think that's where we found the differences in the two levels, is that in K-4 we had more alignment around the practices, and in 5 to 12 more around the content. Yeah. So in this one here, what we really wanted to talk about was the priority areas we identified for looking at going forward and planning. So we really wanted to focus on disciplinary literacy, the K-4 alignment to the 2018 frameworks, because we still weren't fully there yet. We were surprised at how closer we were than we thought we were, which was nice, but we still had some work to do. So looking at new materials for that, implementing investigating history in grades 3 to 7, and then refining grade 9 world history and the civic action engagement progression.
Yeah, I can talk real quick about grade 9. When they made that shift back in 2018, what ended up happening was we had to you probably know this, but every grade 8 was told they have to teach civics. So it was a brand new curriculum that I know our department's super proud, because we kind of created it from scratch. But what that did is it put grade 8 world history into grade 9. So effectively you had to cover 2 years of content in one, because at Wakefield High and other high schools across the state, it's only a 3-year graduation requirement for social studies and history. So effectively we have to cover 4 years of content in 3 years. We have 1 year of world, and then 2 years of US 1 and US 2. So our world history teachers always have their work cut out for them, because we say it's the only class where they keep adding more material every year. So it's kind of like those conversations I said earlier about what are our priorities as far as what the content is. So we still have world history in the 9th grade, because we figured it's a lot of content, but 9th grade is more of a survey course. So you're not going to spend 2 months on World War I. You kind of dig deeper into that in your US 1 and 2 classes. And then the civic action and engagement progression, like every other district, civics project at the high school, civics project at grade 8. What we're trying to see or trying to do here with that last bullet point is just how can we have this happen in other grade levels outside of grade 8, and grade 10 right now. How do we get the kids to actually like do civics, right? Provide them with more opportunities than what is already kind of entrenched at the high school and the middle school.
So we just wanted to talk a little bit here about what is investigating history. So in grades 3 to 7, we decided to move forward with implementing investigating history. It's a free curriculum aligned to the 2018 frameworks. Many districts in the state are now starting to adopt it. It's the only thing fully aligned at those grade levels. And so we, at this point, have been using investigating history in grades 5 to 7 for the last year or so, 2 years.
2 years.
And so in grades 3 and 4, we participated in a pilot last year, and we had 9 teachers, 4 third grade teachers and 5 fourth grade teachers who piloted the curriculum last year and participated in the DESE pilot, which allowed them to give feedback to the changes that are coming in the fully published version that's coming out this fall, which they just released the first unit of this week. It will be new to some of our 3rd and 4th grade teachers, but the teachers that piloted it continued to use it this year, and many of their teammates started to play around with it as well. So there's a lot of familiarity already in grades 3 and 4. Did you want to add anything to that, Kyle? Because you're using it.
Yeah, I picked it up. I picked it up through mid-year. I realized the gaps through our review too, and I was like, okay, let me try this out. And it's very easy to pick up. A lot of resources already put together into one place, and it fits my teaching style really well. I think it's a good resource to pick up pretty nicely.
Yeah. And that's what everybody from the pilot said. So part of the reason that we did move forward, there were many teachers on the review team that were part of the pilot, but there were also teachers who weren't part of the pilot that decided to start trying it out. It was very easy to implement for teachers. There was some PD involved in the pilot, and so what our biggest plan here is figuring out how we want to use the pilot teachers to help with PD for the teachers that were not part of the pilot, which will happen over the summer this year, in order to prepare to implement. So the biggest lift here is just getting the materials for the 3rd and 4th grade teachers and getting them into their hands and getting them trained. But I literally had no complaints. So it's the first curriculum. I've implemented a lot of curriculums here. It's the first curriculum that I've implemented where not one teacher was like, "This is terrible." They were all like, "This is awesome. Let's do this. Why are you looking at anything else?" I'm like, "Well, we have to go through the process, right?" So very positive feedback on that. And then unfortunately in K-2, there is not investigating history yet. I asked in several meetings, are you going to do that soon? So what we are looking at for K-2 is some summer work to work on, there are some free open source curriculums out there for K-2. So I talked to a lot of other districts through this process, through the social studies network meetings in the state. And what a lot of people are doing is creating book lists related to the social studies topics, some common activities that the kids would do that would align with the investigating history instructional routines. Kind of building off of some open source things that are out there and making it as aligned as we can to the investigating history instructional routines and the 2018 framework. So we have some summer work planned for both curriculum development and training for whatever we develop for the rest of the teachers. I think I just mentioned they were revising, and then they put that out based on the feedback from the pilot. All right, I think I'm done. Your turn.
All right, so my sort of role on the committee was to represent sort of special education with a focus on how do we continue making the skills that are sort of the instruction is based on accessible to all learners, whether it be our special education, our general education. There are literacy gaps in students that don't have disabilities, right? That's a reality. And also our sort of multilingual learners. How do we make sure that everybody's getting the same experience? That really starts with sort of strengthening the Tier 1 instruction. Tier 1 being sort of what's best for all learners across the board, tied pretty closely to the DCAP that I think you guys did some work with last year. And those are things like maintaining access but not lowering expectations, a lot of things like read alouds, partner works, things that make things accessible within the classroom that are easy to embed consistently in instruction, day to day.
For special education, it's really targeting those literacy skill gaps in our students with disabilities, whether that be reading, writing, or speaking, which I think we found when we were doing the review was maybe an area of growth across the board, is scaffolding the speaking skills. A lot of the focus was on maintaining rigor with access to primary and secondary sources. Grades 3 through 12 all have research standards tied to them, regardless of sort of the grade level. It's the tasks and the application and the independence level that becomes more complicated as they go. And what we really did a lot of talking in the committee about was sort of what does that scaffolding look like, whether there's a special educator or not in your classroom, because some students are supported through para support as well. And that really comes down to a lot of things like the primary sources. Yes, I know there was a question submitted about changing Lexile levels. There are tools that allow teachers to do that. A lot of sources, websites embed that through AI now. We do tend to caution as a department, you are then technically changing the content of the primary source, right? So if you're really looking at analysis, then you need to work with the language that's provided. Some of those things include chunking the reading into smaller bits with sort of comprehension questions embedded within to do comprehension checks. There's some great free resources. We are a Google school, so Read and Write for Google, Orbit Note that allow teachers to actually go in and annotate PDFs with sort of, I call them the student-friendly explanations on the side while they're reading the grade level text. And there's a lot of sort of great tools in those two specifically that allow our multilingual learners to read in English, but hear it in, I think, Orbit's up to 20 languages. I could be wrong, but Spanish and Portuguese, which are our predominant ones in the district, are both accessible. And really pre-teaching a lot of vocab. A lot of our literacy skills gaps hinge on not having the academic vocabulary before you even attempt the writing, right? So if they can't understand the words, they're not going to be able to repeat back or analyze any documents. And sentence starters, paragraph frames, and really having students, the goal of scaffolding should be to model the skill, like that internal thought process that you want students doing on their own inherently when they're given a task. But a lot of them might need just a little bit of more teacher direction and really using data to monitor progress. And I think this is the hardest for general education. What does that feedback look like? How can it be more consistent? How can they really should be sort of exposing at the grade level, practicing at sort of that instructional level with the scaffolds, what they can do with teacher support. And then for the assessment, what can they do at their independent level, right? So if it's source analysis, maybe you pick a source that's at a lower Lexile for them to show you the skill of actually answering those more complex questions. So, I think I covered it all.
I think so. Good job. Thank you. So now we're looking at how do we turn these priorities into action and what should classrooms look like, next year and beyond. What supports will we need to do that and how will we know it's working? So we're really looking at this shift towards students doing the thinking, reading, talking, writing, focusing on productive struggle, which we hear through most of the content areas now, right? That's a shift in a lot of the content areas. Students analyzing and interpreting sources independently, regular opportunities for discussion. I think one of the things at the elementary level specifically we're looking at, and I know Lisa Tibbetts and I have done a ton of work on this year, just the overlaps in instructional strategies. We've been working with the principals and Kara, and like our focus and curriculum visits really focus on, we call it the 8 high leverage instructional practices, which comes from EL, but what we've really done is look at what does that look like in IM, what does that look like in EL, and what we're finding in diving into investigating history is that's what it looks like there too. And so, really leveraging those overlaps and alignment, and a lot of what Erin just mentioned too in the special education support, a lot of that is what is embedded in these curriculums as well, having that read aloud component, the part where you can break it down. There's a lot of different instruction routines built into all of our curriculums that support that work. And so we're really looking at how do we continue to support teachers through professional development to be able to continue that work across content areas. And then just having consistent materials and consistent use of materials in the elementary going forward. Is there anything I missed for secondary there you want to say?
Great.
Okay.
I mean, I can kind of go off this. So again, what should it look like in the classroom? I mean, basically, I mean, you can see that there. But really, we have the materials. We've had the professional development, so a lot of the stuff that Erin talked about. All of our teachers, 5 through 12, all of the content teachers have been exposed to that, right? So we have the materials, we've had the PD. We are starting to look at data a little bit more, right? History is a little bit tricky with no MCAS data and stuff like that, but we've started to look at like creating common assessments. Teachers were given access to like open architects, right? So all of the pieces are kind of in place that really kind of makes it exciting in the next couple of years to see how history and social studies is being taught across the district, right? But I think the biggest takeaway is we are with all of these elements in place, having the kids do the work, having the kids do a lot of the heavy lifting, and having that shift in instructional strategies is probably like the big picture that we're taking away from the review process. I can talk about this too. All right, system level shifts. All right, so not only about the horizontal alignment, what's happening in grade 9 history, but not only just like the vertical alignment in history, but also cross departments, right? Looking at a humanities approach. So next year, there's going to be a shift in the coordinator structure, which is going to strengthen the alignment between ELA and social studies. So right now, I'm the 5 through 12 history social studies curriculum coordinator. Next year, I'll be the 5 through 8 ELA social studies coordinator. So I'll be at the Galvin, right? But instead of working humanities coordinator. So instead of working with the high school history department like I am now, I'm going to be working with the Galvin history department and the Galvin English teachers. And then Margaret Messier is going to bump up to the high school and be the humanities coordinator there. And then Val obviously is at the elementary.
So we'll have a consistent structure, elementary, middle, high, with humanities and STEM curriculum coordinators at each level.
So, this work actually has already started to happen. Our last PD day was on May 15th. It was a half day, and I took the Galvin humanities teachers. Margaret took the high school humanities teachers, and we just started looking at just really basic stuff to try to get in their ear, maybe to start planning over the summer, having those conversations that they really haven't had. They really haven't had those conversations very frequently. Is there any content overlap? But more importantly, where's the skill overlap? It's not, it doesn't really make sense for a kid to have like 20 different rubrics when they're all the writing expectation should be the same, right? So having those conversations and having those like portable skill sets for kids is hopefully gonna improve. It's gonna strengthen with these like coordinator shifts that are happening next year. But like I said, we already kind of started the work, laying the groundwork a couple weeks ago.
So this is really kind of outlining what our next steps are by level. So as I mentioned a little bit ago, for K-4, we'll have some summer curriculum development that's happening in K-2 and professional development for K-2 as well, and then some summer professional development for investigating history in grades 3 and 4. We also needed to update the K-4 report cards. They had not been updated since the standards had been updated, and so there was some overlap there still that was still relevant, but we really needed to look at those, but we needed to give teachers materials in order to do that. So that will become, we have the drafts of that. They're linked in the report that we shared. But those also have been shared with the teachers, and we got feedback from the review team to make sure that they looked like they would be a good starting point, right? We may need to tweak down the road, but at least for now, we have something that's aligned to the standards we're going to be teaching. And then the implementation of the new curriculum resources. And something that Jason didn't mention that he did a really nice job starting for all of us was this literacy in the social studies classroom document, which is what we're actually using as we build that K-2 curriculum. So, Jason had put this together. Him, Margaret, Kara, and I looked at it together and made the tweaks so we could use that across the K to 2 and 9 to 12, where we don't have the HQIM options that we have in the 3 to 8 range. So, yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's basically a document that you can kind of like cross-check your lessons to make sure that, you know, what are kids reading, writing, saying to each other, making sure, because at the high school level and at the K through 2, like these two extremes, there is no HQIM that you can go purchase or access for free. So it is a lot of like grassroots kind of PLCs coming together, and so it's just a document that they can check to make sure that their lessons that they're creating are kind of checking all the boxes.
And we should probably mention what HQIM stands for in case anybody watching doesn't know. So HQIM is High Quality Instructional Materials, which has been a big push from the state level and DESE with all the grants and all the pilots. You know, these curriculum, EL is one of those, IM is one of those. So we use a lot of HQIM in the district already. And so it was just more limited options for social studies. Because it's science and then social studies. The least amount of. All right, and then the last thing here, we have the estimated cost for year one. So our biggest cost for this coming year is really getting the elementary materials in place because we don't have them yet. So we would be looking into purchasing, investigating history, definitely the teacher guides, and all the curriculum is available open source. So we have access to all the slides and all the curriculum documents, but you know, especially elementary teachers, like it's nice to have that teacher guide that you can work from when you're planning. So we're looking at that and getting some costs in place for that, exploring workbooks or not, whether we need those or not. And then the other costs would really be in purchasing text that we identify for K to 2 that we need, common text for the K to 2 classrooms, and then the curriculum development work, paying the teachers hours to do that curriculum development this summer and training. And we already have the materials for 5 to 7, so that's the good news there.
We got them last year.
Yeah, so the costs, as you can see, they're, I don't want to say uncertain, that, you know, we're budgeting a certain amount, but we could come under because the workbooks are definitely where it gets pricey, but we've given that option at the middle school, and teachers have felt like they're fine with just the free materials and don't necessarily need them. We are thinking 3 and 4, with it being new. Sometimes the workbooks are just a nice way to start out, and then we'll let them assess how, you know, even if we buy them for year one, and let them decide if they find them useful or not. And then, like I said, it's a little bit unpredictable in terms of teacher hours. We're going to set a certain amount of teacher hours for the K to 2 development, but relatively speaking, compared to other reviews, this is a lower cost in terms of implementation.
And that's it.
Okay, great. Are there any questions for the presenters? Tom.
Well, so first of all, so thank you all very much. This is a ton of work, and it has not gone you know, not gone to be unnoticed. So thank you. The prior 2 slides ago, if you go back to implementing and monitoring.
Yes.
On the K4, could you talk about what the update to the K4 report cards would look like? What's that? Can you dive into that a bit?
Yep. So what we did was we grouped them into 4 categories aligned to the standards. So we grouped them into geography, history, civics, and economics. So there's 4 different sections within the standards, and those are the 4 sections. There's also a topic within those. So we went with, for now, to start as our starting point, with the section, like the category of geography, history, civics, economics, and then the topic, which is pretty similar to how we updated our math and literacy report cards a few years ago. Yeah, so that's what they will look like for next year to start us out.
A standards-based report card at the elementary overall, so it just, it's really, it's linked in the report if you wanted to see a visual, but exactly what you just described, just getting it more current.
Yeah. And the ratings are the same as like the other content areas where it's like developing, mastery, progressing. Right? I forget the categories on the top of my head right now, but they're there.
Not yet.
Not yet. Thank you. Yeah.
It's good. The way that we've written them, the way you guys have written them, they like really show more of like the skills you can master. So it's like, has the student mastered this understanding or this topic now, versus like, an old school style of like, can the student do X? You can't really grade that on a master scale.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah, Alex?
Thank you for all the work you guys are doing with this. Just the question about like, specifically with 3 and 4, 5, 6 and 7, because it's departmentalized, it's easier, but just in a lot of districts in the elementary levels, history, social studies is taught within like literacy in the ELA curriculum. Does bringing in this curriculum change? Does it have to be shifts in instructional time dedicated to specifically social studies? How are you guys looking to deal with that? And then also, is there, what type of challenges does pulling from what's usually embedded in the ELA curriculum, bringing in a social studies curriculum, kind of pose for planning, scope, and sequence, et cetera?
No, great question. As far as our elementary schedules, we do have one 40-minute block a week in grades K and 1, same as science, and then 2 40-minute blocks a week in grades 2 to 4, which is the same as science. So we kind of mirrored social studies and science schedules together. So when we were reviewing curriculum materials, we looked at that as well. And that was actually one of the reasons that the pilot teachers were so, excited about investigating history, is they felt like it was one of the first elementary curriculums in like science or social studies that was realistic about what we have time to do at the elementary in a separate time. So it's built for 2 45-minute blocks a week. Right now we have 2 40-minute blocks a week. The pilot teachers felt like that they were able to make decisions to make that work within there. I don't know if you want to speak to that at all, because you've been using it.
It's super adaptable, so if you need to like adjust your pacing, you can, if you need to like remove a slide or something like that, you're not going to eliminate the entire lesson itself, while as other pieces of it move pretty quickly. And like I've had no problem fitting it into, even a 30-minute block of the day if I need to, depending on the lesson. Some lessons require a bit more time to dive in, but like even most of the intro lessons and things like that were very easy to pick up. There's a set of slides you can use. You can edit this. You can make a copy of them and edit the slides if you need to adjust to like every teacher has their own style and stuff like that too. But yeah, I think shift in time, there's been no concern around that. As we're used to shifting too. Like teachers are, the Wakefield school teachers are really good at the elementary level, at least I know, are really good at like shifting their time if they need to make sure that they fit in what's important. And so with the report card change, it'll also reflect that, like that emphasis of, hey, we need to make sure we're covering these because we're going to be giving feedback to families on this stuff too.
And so for grade 3 and 4, that works with that curriculum. For K to 2, what we found was in K2 especially, there's a lot of overlap in the social studies standards with our EL curriculum. So there's a lot already in there around community. It's more limited to the classroom in EL, but like what we would be looking at is supplementing how do we look at community beyond the classroom when we're looking at the social studies lessons that would be the separate, 1 40-minute a week lesson. So there is a lot of overlap in the K to 2 with those, with some of our social studies standards. In grades 3 and 4, it wasn't as close there, right? In our grade 4 EL curriculum, we have our unit on the American Revolution. That's a 5th grade standard. So, so it's nice because they go up with some background knowledge to 5th grade, from the EL curriculum, but it's not really helping us with covering social studies standards in grade 4, right? That would be the ideal if there was an ELA curriculum that matched the social studies standards, right? But that's kind of how we've looked at it. So that was a big consideration we looked at during the review too, was just making it realistic with the time that we have. But that, like Kyle said, go ahead, Kara.
No,
Sorry.
I was just going to add, there has been a lot of work with the elementary schedule, I'd say even a couple years back, just trying to be very strategic around expectations for literacy block, math block. We didn't always have a carved out time for social studies, so really making those decisions when we brought in on science specialists a couple years back, that prompted a pretty tight schedule. So I think going into the curriculum review, knowing what you actually have for time helps a lot. And we had that with ELA, with math. We knew we had, the 60-minute blocks, and then for this to go in knowing that they had those carved out 40-minute blocks.
The addition of the
It's
science teachers
technical
was a
work you have to
big
do
help
first.
in like making sure that time was carved out in the schedules. And Doug too. You were saying like maybe we should match that to the science time. So so I know when we did that work a few years ago with the principals and Kara and Doug, we had put new times into the schedule, and now each year we adjust how it looks on the day-to-day, but it's the same times. It's been consistent for the last couple of years.
So in 3 and 4, there's not a lot of overlap with the history curriculum. the social
Unfortunately, no.
curriculum.
Yeah, the American Revolution unit focuses a lot on like perspectives and opinions of the time period versus like the actual like historical, like chronological, like what you think of as history most of the time. So we focus more on like writing and reading from perspectives. So they need that extra background if it's included into there. But I know that the investigating history covers a lot more of like how the states expanded outwards and how like how people affected the land and stuff like that, which is an interesting way to talk about like in context the American Revolution. They'll have like that extra set because one of the pieces that we read in 4th grade, they talk about a basket weaver, and we really like kind of gloss over this part of it because it's not necessarily, we focus more on loyalist versus patriot, and so now they'll have like more context of like, oh, there's this other group of people who weren't just loyalists versus patriots during the American Revolution, and I know more about this because I've seen how people expanded into America and stuff like that.
There's a lot of complementary content, I would say, in the curriculums, but not addressing the full content standards.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Any other questions? Melissa?
Are you exploring play-based curriculum for K-2 at all?
For K-2?
Yeah.
So I don't have the answer to that right now, if I'm being completely honest. So we are looking at, there's a couple of free open source curriculums out there, and then we have K-2 teachers we're recruiting in to do that work. And so a lot of that tends to go that direction when we're creating our own materials. So
Yeah, I know that there was a pilot a few years ago.
Yes.
Many years ago, doing some play-based stuff in kindergarten for sure.
So that's something we could also look at, like that, because a lot of our kindergarten teachers were here at that time still, and have mentioned that information too. So I can guarantee you the people that I already know are going to sign up for this work are the ones that are going to be able to help with that. So thank you for mentioning that though, because it'll definitely be something that we can build into that consideration for K-2.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Steve?
Going back to the investigating history portion of it, I think I was just looking for clarity on, are we implementing that in grades 3 through 7 currently, or then you mentioned it was published for grades 3 and 4, and then you're updating it for the 5th grade. So do we have it for grades 3 to 7
Great
currently?
question. So for 3 and 4, we participated in the pilot of the original version, like their draft version, and then what they have done is taken the feedback from the pilot teachers, which were teachers from all across the state, not just Wakefield, but we had 9 Wakefield teachers in that pilot. And they adjusted and adapted. A big push in that update was around supports for English learners. So that was a big piece of what they were fixing in the original version. So they just put out, literally this past week, they just put out the updated Unit 1s for both grades 3 and 4. And the plan is to release Units 2, 3, 4 over the summer and early fall. So it'll kind of trickle out with the updates over the summer. So for 3 and 4, this will be implementing the new version in the fall. So our pilot teachers will be the ones to be able to like really see the differences, but our teachers that are just onboarding will have that opportunity to meet with the pilot teachers and kind of get that sense. And then I'll let you talk about 5 to 7.
Yeah, I mean, our teachers have been using it for the last 2 years at least. But similar to what Val was saying about the elementary, they're always updating. So we'll get emails every couple of months about they've changed this unit, or they've added another document to this unit. So there's some of them are major tweaks. Like I forget which unit it was. I think it was for grade 6, but they just changed like the interface of the website. That teachers they're always looking for feedback. So it could be something as big as that, or it could be something as minor as like we just added another document to this activity, but it's always being updated.
Great.
Yeah.
So to go back, so we have the curriculum for grades 3 to 7,
yeah,
and 3 and 4 are basically getting like 2.0 for next year.
Yeah, I mean 1.0 for 3 and 4, but kind of 2.0 based on learning from the others.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Like at this year, it's currently accessible to 3-4. So
Yes.
like I jumped in on using it as we started doing our curriculum review because I was like, this looks really great. I like this curriculum. I'm going to use it in place of the curriculum that I've been using from colleagues my first year at Dolbear.
Great. And then I just wanted to say one thing was, Erin, thank you for adding your voice to the special ed component of this. I think I found it really useful in sort of knowing how, all of our learners are going to be able to access content. So I appreciate you shedding some light on that
push,
piece.
at least at the high school. Jason could speak more to the middle school, but the MSNs, even outside of the co-taught, have been going into department meetings to try and push how can we embed those for everybody.
That's great. That's great. And it's funny, this type of sort of alignment across levels, as you were saying, Jason, not just the vertical, but across sort of different sections, reminds me of years ago, my first introduction to like Pourquoi Tales. That was like the ELA to science. That was, I think, where I first saw sort of that blending of like science and ELA, and now we're doing similar things with history. And and I think back to during sort of COVID, there was a lot of talk about literacy sort of deficiencies at the high school. I think you had spoken one time about it, Erin, some stuff that you were seeing in the. So it's good to see us sort of doubling down on sort of making sure that that's a focus of any time that we're sort of accessing content, making sure that literacy is a huge component of it. Because to your point, if you can't understand what you're reading, how can you sort of absorb it and then give your feedback on it and have your original idea?
Yeah, and just making sure that, because a lot of learning is through exposure, that we're still exposing them to grade level if we're expecting them to eventually grow and close those gaps. And then the practice should be more at their instructional level, which I think is 1 to 2 grade levels above sort of their independent level.
That's great.
And that was part of our research reading. There was a lot of the things that were social studies specific were related to the knowledge building curriculums and social studies, and how if we aren't, like, how some of the gaps that we've created are from lack of teaching content and embedding literacy through content. So that was a big piece of the research reading we did too.
And assumptions about background knowledge.
Yes. Yeah.
So sort of not assuming that every student, regardless of sort of disability or not, has the same sort of exposure at home. A lot of them don't. So how do you fulfill the background before teaching the current?
That's great. Thank you.
Alex? You might have mentioned, I'm sorry, but grade 8.
Yes.
Civics.
Yes.
What specifically, what curriculum do we use for grade 8 civics?
So,
doing like looking at DKP? Are we looking at?
Yeah, so they've kind of pulled a little bit of everything. For our, we do use a core text. It's like we were talking earlier. I think it's nice to have like a core text just to kind of help plan like the scope and sequence. And we use the We the People text for that. But we've pulled stuff from DKP. I think our 8th grade teachers are super passionate about civics. Like it's probably of all the PLCs, it's probably like the highest functioning of as far as like all the ideas that they're bringing to the table. If you went into an 8th grade classroom on a regular basis, it's always going to be like the kids are moving, they're talking, they're actually like doing civics, they're engaged in it. But we don't follow like one like box curriculum. It's really, we have a Google Drive, and they've been sharing stuff. They've been together for a little bit, that group, so they have a really great working relationship, but we don't have a box curriculum that we follow all the time. We do use the We the People as a little bit of a guide as far as like this should be like the vocabulary that everybody's kind of aware of, or these are the important people, but that's kind of the text that we use. But if you went into their classroom, you're not going to see kids reading from the textbook.
And I think that came up similar to science. That came up with civics. I remember us having that conversation around like DKP or what had already been created. And when we looked at what was important to us and the components of a high quality curriculum, I think you felt like the work that they'd invested, I think the team felt the work that they'd invested was hitting a lot of those markers, and we wanted to keep going and growing that for now anyways.
Right.
Until next time. We can always tweak in between, but for now, that's...
Right, or until something comes out, like nothing's really...
Exactly.
There is no DESE certified HQIM for civics really that's out there.
The We the People curriculum is pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty accessible. We see kids using it all the time. It's quite nice.
And in relation to that, the civics projects, you talked a little bit about trying to embed civics projects throughout K to 12. Could you talk a little bit about that? And also, I know that usually the civics projects start sometime in the last quarter.
Yeah.
Have you guys considered doing it earlier in the year so kids have
Yeah,
an easier time
it's one of the, we always
seeing
talk
the
about it.
process?
What makes the 8th grade, or at least kind of where we've landed, what makes the civics project difficult to do, if anyone has suggestions on how to change it, is it's really their first time being exposed to how the government works. So it's really hard, and the way our scope and sequence is like, the local government comes a little bit later. They learn about like the founding fathers and the Enlightenment and all the philosophers and how we came up with the democracy and topics like that. And it's really hard for the kids to understand how local government works. It's hard to do a civics project without them understanding. It's a little bit easier when they get to 10th and 11th grade,
right.
And they've had 8th grade, they've had US 1, and they know all of it. So they've always felt it's been better to kind of like teach all of it first. Yeah, and we've tried, we are trying to do a little bit more of like maybe bringing in speakers from local government, like throughout the course of the year and things like that. But it's always been like something that we've wrestled with, is like, where do we start the project? Because we did try one year to kind of do it as the year went on, and they were like, I don't know who my local government is. Like, do we have a mayor? They had no idea. But you kind of teach them that throughout the process, and it became a little bit easier. But then on the flip side, then you're kind of crunched for time, right? So
right. I know that I'm sure that other people can speak to this as well. Like, usually there's a letter sometime like mid-May.
Oh yeah, you guys get slammed with of course. Right?
And I would love to be engaged with that earlier, so they could see like the process of how it might come before school committee. Or I mean, government is slow, so obviously not going to have results right away. But starting earlier than May might give us a chance to like.
At the high school, there's been a lot of variant on how it's played out.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, when I was co-teaching with Caitlin Torelli, we did a lot of the identity steps at the beginning of the year, sort of the research steps in the middle, and then the projects towards the end. I say we had the best civics project, which was the special ed student who did Down with Civics, and got the Department of Ed to come in, and he said, for special education students, this is really overwhelming, and they admitted they actually did not consider disability-related needs, and then because of his project, even though he hated it, launched teacher training on how to modify the civics project to make it more accessible over the summer. He is now very successful, just saved somebody's life, was recognized not too long ago, very successful civic member of society. We also had many of you in a couple of years ago in the panel form, which I think that was very successful. I feel like the students were able to ask more specific questions instead of the hundreds of emails coming. And now I believe it's more sort of simulation based, right? We're moving towards sort of them actually role playing through the EMK Institute and reflecting on what that looks like to take the different roles at the state level. So I think the high schools had probably the biggest arc in how we've implemented it. We've tried it every single possible way.
Right.
So in reading the presentation, it sounded like you wanted to embed that in other grades other than 8 and at the high school. Is that, did I misread that? Or
is that... I mean, it's just something that so it's one of the practice standards is like civic engagement, right? And so obviously grade 8, our high school grade, they're like, we do, because we do the project. Right. But then if you're a 7th grade teacher and you're teaching about sub-Saharan Africa, you're like, I don't understand how I'm meeting that standard, right? And so we're not saying like you have to connect the content to it, but trying to find more opportunities for our kids to participate. It's one of the only subjects where you don't actually get to do the thing that you're working on or studying. Like you learn the math, then you get to go do the math. In science, you learn about it, then you get to go mix the chemicals. Like history, it's like it feels like you only get to do it in 8th grade and that one time in high school. So it's really more about exposing our kids to more opportunities that don't necessarily have to be connected to the content, but if there is something going on in your local government, or tying in current events. Last year we had PD on how to have challenging conversations about current events, right? So just having those spaces for kids, to me that's starting to cultivate like civically engaged people. So that's what we meant in the report. Not necessarily like a project every year.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to understand what that meant.
Yeah.
And in K-4, that was like our biggest gap, right? Was that we hadn't really updated our materials, so we really weren't covering a lot of the civic standards. And so that is something we are looking at as we build over the summer and provide the PD over the summer. Like those are the big areas that we're looking at. One small tweak that we just made so EL, our literacy curriculum started out as like a project-based learning curriculum. So all of the modules at the end, they have the right? Like they have the performance task. They have something that they put together. And in third grade, one of the things we are looking at for pacing our literacy curriculum next year is really how do we get to that last module? Because in the last module, there's actually a lot of projects that lend themselves to that type of engagement. So like, for example, in grade 3, module 4 is about water and clean water and advocating for clean water resources. And so their project is to create a pamphlet and then present that. And so I worked with the 2 third grade curriculum leaders to make adjustments to the scope and sequence for third grade, so that way we are getting to that next year, because a lot of what's happening right now is that we just aren't making it to that because of the time of the pacing of the curriculum in the year. And so we are now in year 3, we're finishing year 3 of EL, so now we have a good handle on like what we can and can't speed up. And so we're making those adjustments next year to like be able to allow for some of those projects, because it overlaps really nicely with like doing that work. So that's just one small example right now, but that's what we're looking at in our summer planning and curriculum development as well.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay. Because I just have one. Thank you for the great presentation. Because the state change in standards back in 2018 was pretty comprehensive. I know that investigating history, goes through, grades 3 through 7. On the high school level, because, the US 1, US 2 world history curriculum, definitely changed. And I know that a lot of teachers struggle to find good instructional material, especially in the latter era of like history, where there's really nothing, very little that's like kind of easy to find to teach the 70s, 80s, 90s, et cetera, in American history. And because there's such a, national, local concern of, oh my gosh, kids need to know like how, the government works, like what's going on in America now. And I always say, well, if you don't really teach the 80s or 90s, you're not touching now. Like you're not going to touch like what's going on now if you don't talk about conservatism. And like there's literally it's very hard to find really high quality materials on that. So short question is, are these materials pretty much self-made within the high school? Or is it just kind of like trying to reach out, collaborate with different schools, try to find this? I know in my school, it's like a huge priority, and like our assistant superintendent is like, there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
It's just really hard. I'm like you pretty much have to make it yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been challenging. So I would agree with what you're saying. A lot of it is self-made.
Okay.
But we have really tried to stress getting to the present time, right? It's like, June 15th comes and you play We Didn't Start the Fire, and that's how we get through modern times, right? But we're trying to actually tell people, we've actually really worked with our US 1 teachers to kind of like pick up the pace a little bit. You can't necessarily spend, 3 weeks on the Battle of Gettysburg. We kind of got to move it along, because it really is one class broken up into 2 years, right? So if the US 1 people kind of pick up the pace a little bit as far as what they're covering, it gives the US 2 teachers a little bit longer of a runway, right?
Well, I was just going to say, and like Jason and I last year piloted, and a couple of other teachers are moving more to a chronological / thematic approach. So like for the World History Survey, it's looking at types of governments, religion and community, and then you can hit those key points a lot more efficiently and how they all connect, and allows for some good projects with the analysis piece. And I think the US 2 teachers have started to sort of look into how can we sort of clump how the United States in foreign policy, domestic policy, economics, and see what fits in, and that's helped, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
We were learning about the 90s today, actually, in U.S. too. So I was like, all right, this is good. We're gonna make it.
Terrorism.
We're gonna make it. Yeah, we'll get there.
The end piece.
Yeah.
Like the furthest I've gone is like NAFTA and then 9/11, but then I always think about I'm probably not doing good service to students where they know nothing about Iraq. They know nothing. Nothing about
the global. And that's always been the hook.
Globalization is the last thing I teach. It's the last thing I do. It's
so big.
And it's like a day or two. It's like it's awful.
And that's always been the hook with history. Is like kids. Well, why do I need to know it? The more recent you get, the easier it is to make that connection as to why this is important, as opposed to like when you're learning about something that happened like 3,000 years ago, right? It's really difficult for teachers to thread that needle.
It's also challenging because you have so many teachers that are so invested in things that they learned about when they went to college. So it's like World War II. Kids don't give a crap about World War II now. It's like, but to like people our age, it's like that was the war. That was, they're like, okay.
We've also tried to create, at least at the high school, more electives where if you wanted to take a deeper dive into, we have like the battles of the Civil War. We have
popular culture.
We have pop culture. We have totalitarianism, right? So if you really were super into that topic, you could take a half-year elective in that.
And a break from the textbook. There's been a push of adding more, like how the word was passed. It was a year a lot of the US 1 teachers used that, exposing students to literature around history. I would say that was the biggest shift for a lot of the high school teachers, is not going chapter by chapter, but theme and topic by topic was a huge, huge shift.
Yeah.
Still in progress.
It is.
All right, thanks for talking shop.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks for jumping in here.
Yeah.
So just getting back to the agenda here, the last piece I have on my agenda for this evening is a motion for the school choice vote. We do have the slide deck if you'd like to reference it again. I provided a bunch of information in since our last meeting. We provided information on the on enrollment, on the design of the new high school. We provided information on the per pupil expenditure, Alex, that you asked about, right? And what does the $5,000 give us over time? What's the plus there? So we provided additional information. Happy to discuss any information or data that was provided in between meetings. Happy to kind of.
Dr. Lyons, could you just say what the proposal was?
Of
or
course.
Is, and then we can discuss.
So, Ian, could you advance our? Would you be kind enough to pass me the clicker? I got it. No.
I'll get it. You got it?
Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate it. Thank you. So this was the proposal for next year. We're proposing in grades 7 through 12, 2 students per grade for a total of 12 students. Before at the middle, 2 and 7, 2 and 8, and then 2 in each grades, 9 through 12. So 8 at the high school, 4 at the middle, 12 students total. This was the proposal that was made on the 12th. We just kind of need a little bit more information that I think we provided in between meetings, and I think I'm hoping that the committee feels comfortable or reasonably informed to make a motion this evening to take a vote in this space.
Okay, so I think we should make the motion and then open it up for discussion for the committee. Kevin, do you have the motion language?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I plan on not voting for it, so I'd prefer if someone else make the motion.
Sure, Tom.
I move the school committee to approve the superintendent's recommendation for school choice for the 26-27 school year.
Second.
All right, motion has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Pete?
I'm in favor of the motion. As I mentioned in the last meeting, I'm also in favor of extending it to 4th grade as well. It seems like a very light enrollment year and would be a good opportunity to try to start this off at a younger age. And as Dr. Lyons has told us many times, the earlier we can get kids into our system, the better the outcomes are for those kids.
Are you making an amendment?
I'll wait till people have an opportunity to speak, but I will make an amendment at the end.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Stephen.
I just want to comment. I think I feel similar to Kevin. I'm not in favor of the school choice, but hearing the discussion around it and understanding sort of where Dr. Lyons, why he thinks that this is good for the district, I appreciate his perspective on it. I just, for sort of the reasons I think we've said before, sort of unknowns about sort of what the Wakefield population is looking like with expansion and Doyle. There are just some other things that aren't quite closing that gap for me. But even my no vote, I don't want to say I don't appreciate sort of the administration's take on why this is beneficial. I just think that as it stands now, that would be the I don't know what, $30,000. I don't think that we need that right now. So, but thank you for the work that you put into it.
Okay. I think, Kevin?
Yeah. I likewise appreciate the thought that's gone into this. Even though it's not a paradigm I share, I understand kind of the rationale behind it. I also appreciate the additional information, the data that we've gotten. So a few things a few points that I'd like to make and why I am not for school choice. One is our enrollment is already increasing, and there's a lot of unknowns. It's a question that gets asked, I think every town meeting. Mr. McLaughlin gets up and asks you about enrollment and growth, and admittedly that seems to be, at least in some of your remarks, kind of focused on the elementary level, but we do see some other growth potentially happening. I just want to remind everyone of the growth in the building that's happened across town. And at least the only data that I can find, maybe some of the other projects release it, but the only ones that I can find is the 200 Quanah Parkway, which is a significant building that's still being developed. And it's in the fiscal impact analysis. It's going to add 56 students to the school system. I think that's potentially somewhat conservative, but that's what they had found. 17 in elementary, 17 in middle, 22 in high school. 2 JLMCs ago, one of the faculty members from the middle school had referenced just receiving the first student from that building project into the middle school. So wonderful. I love that people are choosing to move here, and I love that they see the value of our school system. But I think our resources, my second point, are already kind of spread thin. And we talked about and fought so hard for a level service budget. We want more, but already our resources are really kind of stretched thin. We hear it over and over from our teachers, our ISPs, other support staff, that their work is just getting more demanding than ever. There's an argument that this will bring some money to the school, but I think the financial benefit is so nil, it's laughable. At most, it's what, about $80,000?
This is
$5,000.
This is
$5,000 per
60,000,
60,000, so
5,000.
even less.
This is 12 times 5 is 60,
Yeah,
right?
so 60.
And so that's correct. And
So $60,000, which would represent a 0.13, actually even lower, because I was going off the 80,000, a 0.13, because I was thinking of the 2 students who are currently here, the one that's not, 2 that aren't graduating, a 0.13, even less increase to the district budget. I also think, so I just got, I don't know if this is typical of everyone, it's just my sequence, but I just got my reevaluation for my mortgage. So my mortgage is going up, of course, because now finally, so this school building project is starting to hit all of our taxes, and it's going up quite a bit. And with everything else is really concerning. And I think where a community spends their money is a value judgment, a value statement, and we make that claim every time when we encourage our neighbors to support New Galvin, New High School, a budget's above and beyond what's being suggested. And I just think when people are being asked to do that, they're being asked to do so for the children that are in their neighborhood, for the students that are on their baseball teams, for myself that don't have any children, just wanting to support and invest in our community. When I think about that, I don't think we're asking them to invest in other students to come into our school system. And I looked at the three sending districts, the three districts that we've received students from this year. And so the average homeowner in Wakefield will have paid just under $10,000 this year in property taxes, compared to the three sending communities of $8,000, $7,000, and about $5,000. So meaning Wakefield residents are paying 19%, 35%, and almost 100% higher taxes than the receiving districts. Just to me, when I turn to my neighbors, when I think of myself, I'm not here or using my tax money to subsidize other communities' students. And I wish them the best. I wish them, to do well, of course, in the places that they're in. But I think when we're making those arguments to my neighbors, again, I think the assumption is that it's for Wakefield students. And then lastly, just an argument around class size. I went back and looked at my experience, School Committee 1.0, and looking at the class size policy that we have it then. And they had something interesting that's in there, and we're not beholden to this, of course, but it aligns with what I believe about class sizes. They had future goals for class sizes that was in the policy back in, believe it or not, I can't believe I was on the school committee in 2008. That seems like a very long time ago. Did you say wow?
Yeah.
That's a long time ago. But the future goal for kindergarten was 18 students. For grades 1 and 2 was 20. For 3 and 4 was 22. For 5 through 8 was 23. And while, we're sometimes not off that actually for some of them, but, certainly our current is 22 for kindergarten compared to 18. 1 and 2 is 25 compared to what we were looking at to be 20. 3 and 4 is 25 compared to what we were thinking at 22. Those to me is what's ideal. I still subscribe to some of those lower class numbers, just knowing the benefit. So, when I think about, the impact that it has on our budget, which is negligible, potentially even more, depending upon the services that a student requires if they were to come here. But also knowing the fact that while it may not be a big deal to add a student to a classroom, I think for the benefits of having one less student to grade, to be able to pay a little bit more attention to the students that you're there, again, for those that are paying taxes into our community. That's why, just as a general concept, I don't support school choice, but appreciate the effort and the creativeness of trying to bring some additional revenues. Just they're so negligible. I think the juice is not worth the squeeze.
Gotcha.
I think is where I am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what? Oh, Alex.
Just a quick clarifier, and maybe I was kind of lost at this point before. Along with the $5,000 reimbursement that you get for students who come from other towns, do the students that come in from open enrollment, do they also then count for like the October 1st Chapter 70 enrollment? So the funding that we receive, so it's not we're just getting. I don't know if you can say that the right way. I don't know if that works, if that makes sense. So along with the money that we're getting for those students who are coming in for open enrollment, we're also having their numbers count for the funding that we receive. So could you say more students, more funding type of thing? Does that actually equate out? Does that work that way? Or
So I believe the answer to that question is yes. Tom may know better than I.
Yes.
And is that in fact accurate?
Yes.
Yeah. So it is yes, right? So your enrollment as of October 1 would be considered with those students in the space. The 5,000 is what we would get per pupil. So that is correct.
But it would probably take a year to see that money.
right.
It'd be the following
Right.
year. It'd be the following
So-
October 1st.
And again, do you get the 5,000? Does that 5,000 every year, or is that the first?
It's 5,000 every year, Alex.
Every year.
Correct.
Along with them counting towards the
Correct.
Chapter 70.
Correct.
October 1 data.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
So Kevin, I definitely hear your point about that if you're paying property taxes in Wakefield, that those property taxes are, definitely going towards the school system. So it makes sense that this is Wakefield that investment is going to their own kids. So the way I look at it is, if bringing in even one student from outside of Wakefield would cause, a lesser, like even a fraction of a smaller, weaker educational experience for the students. I get that. So going to class size, right? Going through the numbers, for pre-K, kindergarten, all the way through 12. One thing that Dr. Lyons said, specifically the high school enrollment numbers, the class size in Wakefield High School is pretty low, like compared to surrounding communities. And when you're looking at the number of 2 seats per grade in 9 through 12, looking at the absolute numbers there, I just can't see how. And I definitely get the risk. I definitely get the risk of, we're having new development. All of a sudden we might fear a flood of new students like coming up to the district. Looking at the high school, just looking at 9 through 12, I just don't really see a factual, like evidence-based reason that, anyone going like from Wakefield that's going into the high schools, education would be negatively affected. On a class size. Obviously, if you're getting a kid with high needs that comes in, and that's a budgetary issue, right? That the budget that we have to take the hit for that. So that's obvious. I definitely get that risk. Looking at pre-K through 8, it's a different story. Like there's definitely a significant difference in class size between K through 8 and 9 through 12. And I know it doesn't look like that much of a difference, but it is a big difference, right? Like if you go from whatever, 23 to 18, that's a huge difference. Like you're talking like 18, I mean, I don't know if you looked at the high school class numbers, but those, the largest I saw wasn't really that big. And there's a lot in like the high teens, low 20s. And then there's a lot of like smaller classes. So I don't really see an argument against it, specifically 9 through 12. I do share concerns about lower grades. I do share concerns about the class size in the lower grades. So I definitely hear your argument on that. Okay. Any other comments, Dr. Lyons? Oh. Sorry, he trumps you.
Go.
Yeah.
I would just say, as we talk about sort of the high school enrollment, I think we've said before that with the new school coming online, there's sort of an unanticipated, like, what is that draw going to be to sort of students that don't currently go to this school? Will the new facility sort of drive enrollment up? And while there's nothing that you can put sort of pen to paper on and say that it's like empirical evidence, I think it's something worth noting. So.
Okay, Dr. Lyons?
So again, I want to go back to the lens and the intent behind this. And again, the school committee has the power here to participate or not to participate. A few of the reasons why we looked at this initially was to really look at some other districts and learn from others, right? And so we know that, we're going to be negotiating a new teacher contract in a year. We know that finances are going to be tight, okay? We just went through, I would argue, a pretty difficult budget process, right? And so one of the takeaways from the budget process that we just went through was this notion of, we're going to need to look at all of our revenue, all of our grants. So what federal grants are being sidelined, what federal grants are continuing, what state grants are being sidelined, what state grants are continuing. How might we raise revenue, raise fees, right? So we've looked at user fees, we've looked at tuitions that we charge, we've looked at a number of other things in terms of revenue coming in that might offset the tax levy or might offset the budget, right? When we look at districts that have gone ahead of us, that have participated in this process, for example, Reading was a model that I have looked at, and I felt like I worked pretty closely with the superintendent over there. And one of the things one of the ways that they approached school choice was to say, we can't give the teachers all of the financial increases that they might want, But what we might be able to do is open up school choice and invite faculty members to bring their children to the Reading Public Schools. And so they did that. So that was 3 years ago now. This year they're opening school and they're going to have 121 students in school choice. That's $605,000 to offset their budget and to offset their ask to the town to offset the tax levy, right? And so we're talking about $60,000 if we fill all the seats. I don't know that we're going to fill all the seats, but if we were to fill all the seats, it's $60,000. They have a few years ahead of us, so they've been at this for a little while and they've developed this a little bit more. But if you look at other districts that have done this over time, they have created a little bit of a revenue stream to offset costs. And do I think that this is going to replace or be this big windfall? I don't. But if we're looking at on kind of an all resources are available to increase the budget, if we're looking at grants across the board, if we're looking at ways to create cost savings across the board, if we're looking at increases in transportation and special education costs, it's going to require us to look at every possible revenue source and think about how we might save or how we might create. And so this is I would argue, a very soft proposal to generate $60,000, which could potentially save 2 para positions if we needed to make cuts. And so I think it's conservative. I think it's very, very conservative. I think that this is thoughtful in its presentation. And if we were to do this, and we got $60,000, and we got an increase with the new high school, if we got 50 or 60 new students at the high school, the school committee could vote the following year to say, you know what, we're not going to continue this. The students that we have we're going to keep because we're obligated to kind of finish with them or let them complete their education. Then they would complete their education. The school committee has the power. You control the spigot. You control the what and the when. You know, Tom, you weren't here in our last meeting, and, you know, one of the things that I was kind of hoping that you could provide is some perspective on not this as a binary, not a good, bad, win, lose, but what this has been like for you over time in your experience.
Sure. Is that a prompt for now? Or
Yeah, I don't know if I can.
I think that qualifies.
Is this a Q&A? Is that?
Well, I mean, we're open for discussion.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I think I'll save the remarks that I was going to make for a moment later when you're completed, Doug. But I think one of the things that I've certainly found in 2 school districts that I have worked in that have been school choice districts, it's been the school committee's motto to make sure that there's some fidelity to the intent of the state law, which is to fill empty seats and not empty rooms. That it should not be a principle. It shouldn't be a principle to be driven around money. And by the legislature's design, it isn't. It hasn't changed off $5,000 in 30 years. So it's certainly not this. The state isn't driving this to go out and make money. It is to help round out classrooms, both in population and in demographic. And my experience has been that there's been a fair amount of success in both of those areas. I think what you described, Doug, as the Reading experience is also one that I could share, that you're not going to get to several $100,000 unless you're at it for a number of years. So there is, I think, for any of us to think that this is going to be a quick fix to any sort of budget gap, that's not the case. To get to any number, you talked a couple $100,000 or more in Reading, that would take years to build up that sort of core and that sort of constituency and that sort of rolling thunder around around that. So that has been my experience. That has, by and large, been a positive. That the risk, and there is certainly risk. It is a blind lottery, so there is no expectation of being able to decide what the profile of any applicant is, and if that applicant is chosen as part of the lottery, then we would be welcoming that student for his or her career. So I've not actually seen that risk to be very high. Most choice students aren't trying to get away from something as much as they're trying to find something. They may be looking for a different experience. They may be looking for maybe a smaller class size. They may be looking for a top-notch performing arts program or a sports endeavor, or the students that are struggling academically and socially and behaviorally aren't on the radar screen for a mom and dad that's out trying to choose a do-over. That has been sort of my experience in that.
Great.
Okay.
That's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Cool. Tom?
So a couple of thoughts, and I couldn't agree more with Kevin over the concerns and the impact of that the local taxpayer is certainly asked to bear. But we're asking that to be borne as a natural course of running the Wakefield Public Schools. I don't think taxes are necessarily going to go up or going to be driven by whether there's one school choice student or 10 or 20. I think the cost of the Wakefield Public Schools are going to continue to be those. And school choice is an opportunity to help offset those costs, not necessarily to grow those costs. Looking at the enrollment slide, there's a couple enrollment slides here, but the one I'm looking at is the one that just has enrollment projections. I think it's important to note, and this doesn't blow itself out. A couple slides. That's the one I have on my computer. It doesn't blow itself out to a 27, 28, 29. So it's hard to speculate what that might be. But in looking at the 2 years in front of us for the high school population sizes, and I think this may be, not to put words in Kevin Fontanella's mouth, but this may be what you are referring to as far as where there is a space to fill empty seats.
Yeah.
It's clearly at the high school, and it's clearly over the next 4+ years. If you look at our graduating class, right? We're going to graduate in 2026 in 2 weeks. We're going to graduate 210 kids, and in pre-K we're enrolling 174. That to me is as much of a look at projections for enrollment. Now, certainly, if you look at kindergarten, first grade, second grade, we're in the 250s and 260s. But those are where the numbers are that can bear the space, which is, I assume, why the administration is recommending that the high school can assume this where the seats are. So I think that's that's the type of analysis to be looking at. And even if we were to receive district-wide an additional 50 or 60 students or more, 50 or 60 students across 13 grades is also rather negligible. So my view is I intend to support this proposal, and if Pete makes the amendment, I would support that as well. That I think we don't know unless we try. And to Dr. Lyons' point, if this doesn't prove to be successful, or proves to be unsuccessful in a year from now or 2 years from now, we have the opportunity to reverse that decision too.
What's up?
I just wanted to say, based on the enrollment projections and the current numbers that we have, I also support this. I know that there's a lot of unknowns about the the new developments in town, but there's also a lot of unknowns about what's happening at the federal level with school choice and how many students will lose to private schools in the next coming years when that gets offered. And even if we look at the pre-K enrollment at 155, knowing that we turned away 40 or 50 families, that's still lower than the 210 that we have graduating this year. I think that the numbers support moving forward, at least this year.
But I just want to point out, that's just Doyle, though. Not accounting for all the other kids in Wakefield who are in
another pre-Ks,
preschools across town.
But we don't know if they'll go to public school, if they'll stay private.
Yeah, and I think one thing we ought to think about, a hypothetical situation. Let's say 5 years from now, we have evidence of steady declining enrollment. Like, let's just say it happens. Would we entertain school choice, as Tom said, to help fill these seats that are now open? That's what you said, right? Filling seats, not something.
Seats are open.
Oh, thank you. And again, if in that situation, I don't see why not. Like, I don't understand the logical reason to oppose it in that situation. Now, the fear that, like, all of a sudden we're going to have 100, more kids apply to that, like, I don't think it's going to happen. But I get the fear that all of a sudden the high school enrollment goes up. Stephen, you spoke to that, right? That could happen. Yeah. But looking at the current numbers and looking at the last 5 years, just going to graduation and seeing the graduating class, I think I've got a handle on basically what the numbers are in the high school. Yeah. Steve?
I would just, so one of my students sits at that 285 number, that current fifth grader going into sixth.
Yeah.
That student sat in fourth grade in a class that was 25 students.
Yeah.
And the classroom that has 25 students, like in fourth grade, is significantly different than the class that has 23 students.
Yeah.
Or 22 students, which I've also had students in classes those size. Those extra students are extra moments, or extra seconds, or extra eyes. And so it's not a nothing. It's not a small thing. There is impact. And then I know that we're looking at like an 18 number sort of for average class size at the high school, but digging into those numbers, if you get granular to the subject level, there are like college prep history classes that have 26 students in them in the high school. I know they're older and they can, it's not fourth graders, but it's a lot of kids to have in a class. It's a lot of kids to lesson plan for. It's a lot of kids to have a bad day or a rough morning or, a schedule adjustment. So I just don't think we have the breathing room that I'm hearing folks think that we have, is for me. And I think part of that comes from, maybe it's just my own perspective from having that student that sat in that absolutely like sort of flushed out classroom. There was impact there. And so that was our life for a year. And the educator was phenomenal, couldn't have asked for a better. But you could tell there was a difference, because my kids had that same teacher, and there was just a shift in sort of that larger class size. So I don't know if our educators, even if they wanted to send their kids here, I don't know if they'd be feeling the same way as sort of we do around 1 or 2 students in a grade level. So.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, no, Stephen, I agree with you wholeheartedly around the class size, piece. I really do, and I think that is why I think the nature of the statute is that school committees and school administrators are to make recommendations class by class, to say there is room in grade 10 for 3 seats or whatever number it is, and there's not room in grade 6 into your example. So I couldn't agree more about, the purpose of that. Even going back to Kevin's 2008 class policy, I remember, a couple years later when I joined the committee, the class size policy was a significant part of our conversations then to remain, to remain true to certain expectations. And certainly the difference between 23 in a 4th grade class or 5th grade class, I think you said, sorry, and 25 is is significant. Is the difference between 18 and 20 in a high school class? It's not as significant, but it's certainly not, it can't be understated. We can't think that there isn't an impact or isn't an additional ask or drain on the teacher in the room. There certainly is. But it's a matter of if we're going to continue this, if we want to continue to pursue this effort, we need to try, and we need to not speculate any longer. The administration, which I'm assuming also includes the high school administration, believes that there is room and space in the 4 years that are in front of us, meaning the 4 years of high school. And there is value and worth. On the money piece again, I think to Alex's question that kicked this off, not only does the school choice students get on our October 1 count, but we're talking $60,000. It's $60,000 a year. It's not $60,000 for a one-time. I mean, I think that's rather obvious, but just to say out loud, because the only number we've quoted is 60,000, but over the course of high school, it's 240,000, right? So there's rolling thunder here in the math. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments or questions, Pete?
I appreciate all the feedback. I'm going to make a motion to amend the motion on the table to also add 2 seats in grade 4 for the 26-27 school year.
Second.
Okay. All right. So there's an amendment on the floor. Tom, you're the parliamentary procedure expert more than me here. Here's a question for you. If there were, once an amendment's made, can a second amendment be made, or does the vote on the first amendment have to be made before another amendment is made?
So we need to vote on the First Amendment.
Before another amendment is made.
Another amendment.
Okay, there can't be like 6 amendments floating out there.
I'm in favor of Amendment 4, but not Amendment 2.
Just clarify. Just clarify. That's what I thought.
So Pete's motion that's been made and seconded.
No, we have to vote on that.
Needs to be voted.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I got that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any discussion on the amendment? Can you repeat the amendment? It was
Mine was to add 2 seats for grade level 4. I mean, it clearly is a class size that's tiny. It can easily support 2 students. I also think it gives us the opportunity to bring a student into the system earlier, and as Dr. Lyons says, and I said a few minutes ago, the longer they're here, the outcome is going to be better for that student in our system.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, seeing no discussion. All those in favor of the amendment, not the original motion, but the amendments? Okay, 3 yes. All those against the amendment? All right, so this amendment fails 4-3. That's how I say it, right? Michelle, you got it, right?
4-3.
So do we have to make
3-4, I'm sorry.
Do we have to make the original motion again?
No,
Okay,
the
so now
motion is still on the table.
So now it goes to the original motion. All right. All right, I'm going to make an amendment, just based on the evidence there, to have 3 seats per grade, 9 through 12, no seats 7 and 8. If no one seconds it, we'll just go right to the original motion.
So for whatever my comment would be, that that's a significant change to the motion. That's not really as much of an amendment as it is a new paradigm. Which is perfectly fine, but it's not just really an amendment. My recommendation would be that we vote effectively, you recommend or you ask the committee to vote the superintendent's proposal down and to reintroduce yours as a second motion, as a new motion. Or pass this and then
you can
pass the second one.
Okay.
But it's kind of a rewriting of the current motion. It's not an add-on. It's a rewrite, really.
Okay. All right. So the amendment is not seconded, and so it will just die where it was born. All right, so now we have the original motion. 2 seats per grade, 7 through 12. All those in favor? All right, those opposed? Okay. All right, I'll make a motion to add 3 seats per grade for 9 through 12, none for 7 and 8. And again, I'm just going with the evidence here. I think that 7 and 8 have significantly higher class size. Sorry, could I make my rationale for the motion?
So I'll second it.
I was going to say it needs to be.
Thank you, Tom. And I just think that the evidence clearly suggests that class size is significantly lower 9 through 12. I think each grade 9 through 12 can easily support one more student to the two. While 7th and 8th, the class sizes seem too high for me to justify that rationale. Motion seconded. Any discussion?
I'd like to hear the administration's notes on that proposal.
On the,
On 3 in the high school and none in the middle school? And none in the 4th grade?
you just said, I think, 2 things at once.
Oh, I
So-
said 3 things at once, but yeah.
3 things.
I'd like you to address all of them. We can take them one at a time.
Yeah, so in terms of the proposal for 4th grade, I think that's not what we proposed. If there's space there, if the committee decided to try that out, we certainly could do that, right? It's 2 students, right? And so that was voted down, so I think that could have worked. I think the 7 and 8 proposal, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, is, I think it's a conservative proposal. I think there's space within those classes. Those ratios would not change significantly with those additional students. But it sounds like the committee is split on this, and so I'm just watching this play out, and so yeah. For me, again, I think, Tom, you said this about giving this a go and trying this to try to doing it to try to make it work, right? Not, to try to learn by doing, right? And so that's my position on this. I also think that as budgets get tighter and as enrollments can swing moment to moment, I think this could put us in a position to be prepared for that. But it's certainly, please, a year ago, we did not have school choice. And, I think it was, we were kind of progressing well. Last year with school choice, we're still progressing well. So I think this is a very, very conservative proposal, and the committee needs to do what you feel is good for the system, and the administration will take your lead.
You feel comfortable with 3 spots per grade in the high school?
Could we? I don't know that we're going to get that many students.
No, I understand, but if we did, that's a number that you can support.
I think we could handle that, and I don't think that the class sizes are going to change too radically there. I think it could work. Again, last year, just for context, we had 8 spots open. We've only filled 3 of those 8 spots.
Any discussion?
I'll just point out, I know Stephen talked about a classroom at the high school that has 26 kids. Looking at another English class that has 26 kids in it, there's 2 other sections, one that has 4 kids and one that has 6. It's all just different sections, and that scheduling at the high school is going to be difficult based on what kids are going to take. And there's going to be some bigger classes and some smaller classes, and sure, we'd love all of them to be 12 kids, but I don't know that that's going to happen unless unless there's a drastic change in budgeting. So yeah, I would support Kevin's new proposal.
Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? All those opposed? All right. Motion passes 4-3.
For 12 students, 3 and 9, 3 and 10, 3 and 11, 3 and 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pete?
I'd like to make one more motion for 3 students in grade 4.
Is there a second to that motion?
No.
I don't see one. Sorry, Pete.
No worries, we're done.
Gotta try.
All right. We all set?
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, next item on the agenda are my comments. So we have been in negotiations for a while with the WEA regarding both the move to the new building and the schedule for the high school next year. So obviously, to the community, the new high school is going to be built. Everything, construction is going as planned. And the plan is for us to move into the new high school after winter break of next year. One of the logistical issues with this is that teachers have a lot of instructional materials in their classrooms in the old building, or the current building, and they have to be given time to pack for movers to be able to move that to the new building. So one thing that we are negotiating is giving time for the teachers within the contractual time during the school day to be able to pack, and then also giving them time in the new building to unpack and have basically the classrooms ready to go when the students come in after winter break. Because the schedule is in the contract as well, it's within the WEA contract. We are looking at a schedule that involves a flex block, which I think everyone's very excited, both teachers for the most part, and the school committee, at least the labor subcommittee, which will be a block that we really think is going to help with instructional outcomes and also some social and emotional outcomes as well. So we have sent a draft MOA to the WEA. I have not heard back. We think it's pretty much done. So we're definitely hoping that comes back in the affirmative. But we'll definitely update everyone. Pete, you asked before the meeting if you guys could have it, and I honestly was going to send it once it was agreed upon, and I was honestly going to give it to everyone in our next executive session. But I'm fine with giving that to everybody, so I'll can shoot that out. Shoot that out tomorrow morning. So everyone can look. Okay. Any questions with that? Anyone? All right. Next item on the agenda, it's time to reorganize the school committee. It's our tradition to reorganize our chair, vice chair, our different assignments. So the first is, does anyone want this spot? Tom Markham.
Mr. Chair, I would nominate Kevin Piscadlo to be chair of the school committee for 26-27.
Second?
All right. Any discussion? All right. I would just like to say that I think Kevin has been a very good vice chair. I'm not really a texter. I'm kind of a caller. So yeah. So that is true. So poor Kevin has had me call him a bit, and he always acts like he appreciates the call, even though I know for the most part he probably just wants to drive home in peace. But he's been a very good sounding board for ideas. So I definitely appreciate your advice as vice chair. Thank you. And a very good motion reader as well.
He reads really well.
Thank you. Yes, he's a good reader.
Great
Very
literature program
important
here in
school
Wakefield.
committee. Yeah. All right. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion? It's unanimous. Okay.
Was there a second?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Melissa,
Pete
I-
said second.
All right, excellent.
Melissa and I both did.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tom, you're very on top of this today. Next, does anyone have a nomination for vice chair?
I would like to nominate Melissa Quinn for vice chair of the school committee for the 26-27 school year.
Second.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? No? Melissa rocks too, I think. All those in favor?
Does it feel weird voting for yourself? It felt weird voting for
Oh boy. Nomination of the warrant signer.
I don't mind doing it again. It was fine. I'm here all the time.
I don't know if you can be, I guess you could
Can
be
I?
both.
Can I do? But yeah, I don't know if I can do both.
Wow, has that ever happened?
I don't remember. I don't
really
remember.
care.
I don't remember a policy saying that we can't do
There's
it.
no prohibition on it.
There's not. I'll make a motion for Melissa Quinn to be warrant signer, mainly because I do not want to do this. So,
Second.
all right, motion has been seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you, Melissa. All right.
It's not that bad.
And then,
You don't often see people jump in front of a train, but it's amazing when you can.
yeah. And then, in terms of subcommittee and liaison assignments, it'll be Kevin's job to review that. So I encourage, well, he
I'll send
can
that
say
out.
it, but
Yeah, I'll send that out to everyone.
can all
to get
email.
preferences and
Can all lobby for those very valued subcommittee assignments. Great. Next time on the agenda, subcommittee reports, finance facilities. Tom.
So we had a meeting a week ago, well, we had a meeting at the beginning of last week on Monday. The near exclusive agenda was fiscal 26 and really digging into where we were at that point in time as and sort of Christine gave us a preview of the finance report that we saw this evening in the group packet. So we got a full report and quite satisfied and pleased with obviously the financial management that Christine and the administration are providing, and the confidence level is quite high about how we will close fiscal 26 in a good place. It's certainly a tighter than normal than historically normal year, but we're going to see more of those, not fewer. So the type of deep dive that we did last week on fiscal 26 was not only needed, but will help inform other decisions that we need to make. And our next meeting is this coming Friday morning.
Okay. Great. Labor and personnel, Kevin.
Labor and personnel hasn't met, but if Alex and Tom can stick around after, we're going to set up a meeting to be able to meet before our next regularly scheduled school committee meeting.
Great. That's good. Student services, Stephen.
We have not met since last meeting.
Okay. Policy communications, Melissa.
We have not met since the last meeting.
All right. Are there any liaison reports? Pete.
So the Human Rights Commission had their Asian Art and Food Truck Festival back on the 17th. It was very well attended. They had over 500 people who came.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty nice to see. And June is a very, very busy month for the Human Rights Commission. So June 1st at the AmeriCal starting at 6 is the Pride and Progress flag raising event. And the Juneteenth event this year will take place at the AmeriCal on Wednesday, the 17th of June at 6 o'clock as well.
Great. Thank you.
And I'll put another plug if anyone wants to join them. I think they're down to 3 committee members, so they could definitely use some additional volunteers.
Okay. Any other liaison reports? Steve?
ESC, this past week, there have been a couple of events. There was a warrior cleanup crew on the rail trail across from the Galvin. That was well attended. The following day, May 17th, there was a Fix-It Cafe at Creative Chaos, which is on North Ave, across from the train depot. That was well attended. That was awesome. And then there last weekend and this coming weekend, there is a garlic mustard pulling party. Garlic mustard is an invasive species in our area, and there is a sort of person in our community who is very passionate about this, and so they're sort of rallying folks to show up on Sylvan Ave, 9:30 to 11. It was the 23rd. It'll also be the 30th, to pull out this invasive weed and just throw it in trash bags and get rid of it. Also on May 30th, Representative Kate Lipper-Garabedian is doing her annual Recycling and Sustainability Day. That'll be here at the high school, 9:30 to 11. There are a multitude of sort of flyers on it, and they collect all sorts of things, everything from I think like car batteries to electronics to paint to even the little, like, it's planting season, so those little weird plastic pots that you get that you want to like toss that you can't put in your normal recycling, you can bring it to them, among a bunch of other items. So just yeah. That's it. I also happen to mention to the ESC in our conversation is that when we were still talking capital expenditure, I don't know if it's still on the docket, but the capital planning was including $100,000 for potentially a new activity bus for the district. And so I was just hoping that as we move through in that planning process, if some sort of hybrid electric vehicle can be in the discussion, especially where we're going to be putting in some needed electric infrastructure for charging vehicles in the new high school. The school bus just fits that use model like so well. So we just had a small conversation about that and urged them to sort of communicate with their other town leaders to make sure that might stay front of brain of the planning folks.
Kevin, Stephen, I could speak to that a little bit. Oh. So it's not a school bus, it's an activity bus.
Yeah.
And they did some research about electric activity buses, and it doesn't exist the way that the ones that we have are structured. Mm-hmm. So we did some research on that, but there wasn't anything that was available for that. Okay. But because that question had come up during the capital committee as well. But yeah, there were some grants for school buses that we applied for. We hadn't heard back, but this is for like a 14-passenger activity bus.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other ways on reports?
So the Youth Action Committee is continuing to recruit new members, so please reach out to your principal for more information about that, or look at the town website. There's one last meeting this year, and they are moving forward with trying to coordinate an effort to reduce the voting age in Wakefield for municipal elections to 16.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. Great.
They're doing some great work.
Cool. All right. Any other comments? Or sorry, not comments.
Well, there's a comment.
Okay.
I just want to pass my thanks to you, Kevin, for your term as chair. I always like your perspective. Coming from both sides, I think you bring definitely some information and ways of thinking of things that maybe doesn't necessarily come naturally to me, and I really appreciate that. And I've enjoyed your term as chair.
Thank you. All right. Any other ways on reports? Okay. Next item on the agenda, future dates and agenda items. Our next meeting is Tuesday, June 9th, 2026. And school improvement plan updates and retiree celebration, which happens usually before the meeting. And can we also have the math
Yep,
update?
they're planning on that.
Oh,
Yep.
on that for this. Okay.
They're planning on that as well.
So it'll be a busy meeting, be a good meeting.
Yeah. Stephen?
I'm still hoping to get an example of the open architects model on one of our agendas.
There's 2 meetings left, or I'm pulling up my document quick.
I think there's one on the 23rd.
Yes, I said 3. Okay.
Next time on the agenda, school committee comments.
Out of order.
Kevin?
I too want to join Pete in thanking you for a great year as chair. It was fun being your vice chair, and yes, Kevin still likes to call, so you can probably anticipate more texts from me, Melissa.
That's fine.
But it was nice. We had some good conversations, although weird ending. All right, we'll talk to you later. But
We're done?
Yeah. Okay.
It's like the phone version of an Irish goodbye.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm like that with everybody. including my wife. Yeah.
But thank you. You did a really good job, and it was a great year. I was thinking of what Melissa was saying, earlier about, kind of engaging in some of the school things, and so I was able to go, a few of us last Friday to the engineering presentations, which was awesome. So I appreciate those sorts of invitations too. It doesn't always work out, but sometimes there's, you don't always see everything that's happening in real life, and that was a great opportunity. I think there's one this coming Friday as well, the internship.
Oh, yeah, the internship.
Opportunity. So I'm looking forward to that now that I'm free on Fridays. So, but just thankful for those sorts of invitations, and certainly welcome more if there are opportunities to get in some of the schools, to interact with students, to see some of the things that are going on. It was really fun. It's neat to see what they come up with the engineering kind of projects and the process they go through, and it was great. So thank you.
Sort of the same idea. I wasn't able to make it to the engineering event, but I did go to the art event here at the high school, and I brought my 7th grader with me, and I will say that we've talked about how Wakefield feels so great because we give our students opportunities to sort of pursue themselves, like to find out who they are, and they have all these different pathways to sort of achieve that, whether they're like athlete students, or if they're into like music or theater or science, or they just have all of these different spaces, and we talk about it a lot. But having my 7th grader walk through that, and he's into art, having him walk through that that sort of gallery, and one of the first things he said was like, everybody here at the high school is so good at art. These things are amazing. And I was like, they are, but what you're seeing is some kids just, they take art like as their elective. They get to choose what they want to do. And so what you're seeing is some art really driven by kids that really want to be in that seat. And he's seen that sort of in his music sort of landscape. But anyway, and just to see the look on his face, the possibility, he's starting to see that sort of differentiation in educational pathways and the things that are kind of gonna open up to him as he progresses through the Galvin and comes into the high school. And it's just cool to see it sort of in your student, not just, hear it, in this room. So that was cool. So I guess in that way, it's just a thank you to all the sort of educators that sort of make those things happen, because there was a multitude of media that were on display, whether it was photography or studio or pottery. It was amazing, and there's so much talent in this school. So it was. I appreciate the invite, and it was great to attend.
All right, any comments? All right.
Just a question. How many retirees are we expecting this year? I know not everyone comes.
I think about 7 with a good deal of guests, more than last year.
That's great.
We're not done hounding people yet, so.
And how many do we have, official retirees do we have this so far?
12.
Okay, yeah, combination. Teachers, clerical, paras, custodian.
Maybe 1 or 2 unofficial.
What is that?
I think people just haven't announced yet.
Oh,
Nothing ominous.
Nothing
ominous. Nothing ominous. No. It's just
pass the budget. It's level service.
What they call you in for the unofficial. Great. All right, I think we have a motion to adjourn.
Move the school committee adjourn its meeting of Tuesday, May 26, 2026.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
We're talking